Who decided beauty ads need this much drama?
Elf Cosmetics did. Their new commercial called Melissa is an absurdly funny telenovela starring Melissa McCarthy, TV Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, and iconic telenovela villain Itati Cantoral. But the real star, Elf Glow Reviver Lip Oil.
Melissa McCarthy fully commits by even rolling the R's with the Elf Glow Reviver Lip Oil. It's very funny.
Yeah, watch the full episode of their new Elfa novela on soyunbaño.com.
Hey listeners, this is Peter and welcome back to the History Shorts. Today's episode is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the world. Download Podcast Republic today, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Today on History Shorts. When most people hear the name St. Louis, they think of a city in Missouri, not a medieval monarch who lived 8 centuries ago. But before his name adorned riverfronts and baseball teams, there was Louis IX of France, a man that was something far greater and more complicated than a name on a map. He was a warrior, a reformer, and by the end of his life, a saint. Louis IX reigned from 1226 to 1270, ruling France during one of its most stable and prosperous eras. He was called the ideal medieval king, not only for his devotion to justice and piety, but for the strange and singular way that he fused political power with personal holiness. We finished today's episode with a history brief, where we covered some recent history news. A quick word from our sponsors.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
This day in history. On February 21st, 1848, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels published the Communist Manifesto, laying out ideas that would influence revolutions, governments, and global politics for over a century. On February 21st, 1965, civil rights leader Malcolm X was assassinated in New York City while preparing to speak at a rally. Story of the day. Louis IX was born in 1214, the son of King Louis VIII and Queen Blanchette of Castile, a powerful and intelligent woman who shaped much of his early life. When his father died suddenly in 1226, the young Louis was only 12 years old. It was his mother who ruled in his name during his minority, guiding the kingdom through rebellions and rivalries. She famously told her son, "I would rather see you dead at my feet than guilty of mortal sin." That was not just maternal exaggeration, though. It was a moral framework. Under her influence, Louis grew into a king who believed that holiness was not just a private virtue, but a duty of the crown itself. When Louis took full control of his government in the 1230s, France was emerging from centuries of internal conflict. He transformed the kingdom into one of Europe's most stable realms, through law, administration, and personal example. Louis established what we might call the rule of law in a feudal world still ruled by personal power. He created the Parliament of Paris, a royal court that allowed appeals from across the kingdom, ensuring that even the humblest subjects could, in theory, find justice. He issued ordinances against corruption, standardized coinage, and cracked down on private wars between feudal lords. His motto was simple: peace for the realm, justice for its people. And unlike many monarchs of his age, he lived the ideal he preached. Contemporaries wrote that he would sit beneath an oak tree outside his palace, allowing ordinary citizens to approach and present their grievances directly. A chronicler noted, "He listened patiently to both rich and poor alike, his eyes fixed upon the ground in humility." That image, the king under the oak, became one of the enduring symbols of just monarchy. But Louis's vision of kingship went far beyond politics. He believed his crown was a sacred trust, that ruling well was not just a political act, but a spiritual vocation. He fasted, prayed daily, and was known for his extreme personal piety. He built churches and hospitals, washed the feet of the poor, and tended to lepers himself. He founded the Hôtel Dieu in Paris, one of the first hospitals for the city's poor, and then endowed numerous monasteries. And in 1239, he acquired one of the most coveted relics in Christendom, the crown of thorns, believed to have rested upon the head of Christ during the crucifixion. Louis built a chapel worthy of such a relic, the Sainte-Chapelle, an architectural masterpiece of radiant stained glass designed to glorify God and France alike. The French saw it as a sign that God favored their king, and therefore their nation. In his court, theology, philosophy, and chivalry coexisted. He entertained scholars like Thomas Aquinas and Vincent of Beauvais, turning Paris into a center of medieval learning. Louis IX was not just a ruler. He was an ideal, the embodiment of what Christendom believed a Christian monarch should be. Yet for all of his devotion to peace and law, Louis was still a man of his time, a king of the crusades. In 1248, he launched the Seventh Crusade, sailing to Egypt with the hope of reclaiming the Holy Land for Christendom. The campaign began with optimism, but ended in disaster. At Mansoura in 1250, Louis's army was crushed by Egyptian forces. The king himself was captured and then ransomed for an enormous sum. And yet, witnesses say that Louis bore his captivity with dignity, praying with his men and comforting the sick. When he was finally released, instead of returning home, he stayed in the Holy Land for 4 additional years, rebuilding fortresses, negotiating truces, and caring for Christian refugees. When he finally returned to France, he did so not as a conqueror, but as a humbled servant of God. His people welcomed him as a ruler that failed militarily, but triumphed spiritually. But Louis's story did not end there. In 1270, at the age of 55, he set out once more, this time for North Africa, hoping to convert the Sultan of Tunis and open a new front against the Muslim world. It was a silly plan, driven more by faith than strategy. He landed on the shores of Tunisia in the burning summer heat. Disease swept through his camp, and Louis fell ill, likely of dysentery, and thus died on August 25, 1270. According to eyewitnesses, his last words were a prayer. "Into thy hands, O Lord, I commend my spirit." He died not as a warrior on a battlefield, typical of medieval kings you might say, but as a saint on a foreign shore. Within decades, the church canonized him, calling him Saint Louis, the only French monarch ever to be made a saint. The History Brief. Today in some history news. Experts at the Smithsonian are giving a Revolutionary War relic some much-deserved attention in honor of America's upcoming 250th birthday. Deep inside the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History, conservationists are painstakingly restoring one of the most remarkable artifacts from the Revolutionary era, a gunboat named Philadelphia, considered the oldest surviving American warship. Launched in July of 1776, just weeks after the Declaration of Independence, this humble 53-foot-long vessel played a key role in early naval engagements of the Revolutionary War. Built quickly out of rough-cut oak, Philadelphia was part of a small fleet under General Benedict Arnold's command during the Battle of Valcour Island and Lake Champlain. Although the tiny American fleet was outgunned by British forces on October 11, 1776, the resistance delayed the British advance and thus helped shape the war's northern campaign. Philadelphia itself didn't survive the battle. It was sunk by British cannon fire that same day. For 159 years, the gunboat rested upright in 60 feet of water at the bottom of the lake until it was rediscovered and raised in 1935. After decades as a roadside and museum attraction, it was finally brought to the Smithsonian in 1961, where it's been part of the museum's collection ever since. Now experts from the Smithsonian and Texas A&M University's conservation team are literally brushing away centuries of sediment using fine tools from vacuums to dental picks in a specialized lab where visitors can watch the slow and meticulous restoration. Surrounding the vessel are its original artifacts, anchors, cannon carriages, even the 24-pound British cannonball that helped sink her. Conservationists hope this work will not just preserve the warship for years to come, but also uncover new insights into life aboard one of the first ships of the American Navy. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and helping make this little show such a mighty success. If you are enjoying the show and would like to help with its production, you can always donate a few dollars at buymeacoffee.com or become a Patreon member to enjoy these episodes ad-free. Both links can be found on our website at www.historyshortspodcast.com. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow.